right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Bullets, Barbells, and Barbecue. It's me, Brett, as always. Chris is here. Everyone else is, I don't know, doing whatever the fuck they're doing. They're probably trying to take a water heater submarine to the bottom of the ocean. What a terrible fucking idea.
Oh, man.
Let's all get in a tube that you have to have your shoes off and you have to sit down and look out like a fucking 6-inch people.
Didn't they say it was like a 10-hour trip, too, and you get to see the Titanic for like 20 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't very long.
Yeah.
Because I think they had 96 hours of oxygen, but the whole trip is only like fucking 8 or 10 hours.
Yeah. Then you get like a little tiny viewing window, $250,000. And the whole time you're cheating death.
Yeah, I wonder when they're looking out the window, do they have to lay on top of each other? Or is this a guy with the PlayStation controller that's driving it? Does he get first dibs?
Does anybody else get to drive it? Hey, man, let me take this thing for a spin real quick.
Yeah, I don't think anybody drove it this time, really.
Oh, what a bad idea. I'm sure, well, the waiver that all those people had to sign to get on that thing,
But you know,
I bet they still get sued.
I was going to say waivers don't cover death.
I think it said death like 5 times just in the first paragraph.
I don't think that really matters, though. It's that whole idea the waiver is only as good as the paper it's written on.
Oh, well, and a lot of those people had a lot of money, so I'm sure.
Yeah.
How much money could that company really have, though? I mean, they made that shitty submarine, so it's not like they have a lot of money to.
That was good enough to get a bunch of fucking rich people to get on it.
It's
Titanic 2, rich people 0. Dude, the memes have been great though.
They have.
I don't know if it's
good.
like really fucked up. I mean, I feel bad for those people that died. I mean, but like, you kind of knew what you were doing. I mean, it's like skydiving. Like, you still feel bad, but you also like. I mean, there's a high percentage that you could die.
I mean, it would have been way cooler if you'd been like, when what was it? Bezos went.
Yeah, I'd go to space way before I go in the ocean.
Yeah. Oh man, at least we were in outer space, but no, we were just in the ocean.
Dude, isn't it like 70% of the ocean is like still like undiscovered, really?
Yeah, I believe that's what they say because it's so deep that.
And I mean, I understand the fascination with the Titanic. There's been plenty of pictures of it. Like, if it's such a big deal, like, figure out some sciencey way to raise it out of the water.
You think they could? Well, I think if
I think it probably fall apart.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's what they say. If they lift it up, it'll just fall apart. So.
But I don't understand the fascination of seeing it. It's a ship that crashed. There's like, I would rather go into like, isn't that like Lake Superior or one of those? Great Lakes has a bunch of like World War I ships like in the bottom of it.
I was just watching that actually. On
I'd rather see some of that shit than the Titanic.
There's like some minesweepers that the French paid to have during World War I or World War II, one of the two, and they went down in storms and they're trying to find those.
Yeah, I'd way rather see that or go down to fucking Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And see the is that the USS Arizona?
The carriers that sank.
Yeah, is that the Arizona that's built over top of?
I think so.
But then I had read somewhere they don't bring that up because it's kind of like a final resting place for like some of those soldiers that didn't make it off or whatever.
That's something way more interesting to me than going to see the Titanic. I mean, there's a whole movie around it. Watch the movie.
Well, yeah, and there's been people who have gone down and taken videos and pictures.
Yeah, what do you need to go down there personally and see it for?
It's like pitch black too, so you're only going to see the like width of a halogen.
Horrible idea.
And they say they can't tether it because it gets caught on things. Don't you have a controller to like not get caught on things?
No.
I don't understand. Like, they just put you in a sinking fucking tube, and you're like, this is
amazing.
This is the best idea I've had.
I'm so glad I paid $250,000 for this.
Yeah. Did you see that meme? It was like $250,000 to see the wreckage. Being part of the wreckage for lifetime is priceless.
It's so bad.
It's super bad, but the internet strikes whenever it can.
As soon as there were rumblings of something happening with it, the memes were already rolling.
Well, yeah. Well, you saw that even if they would have they're like, oh, maybe they're on the surface, they still would have died.
Because they couldn't open the thing from the inside.
Yeah, 96 hours. Could you imagine sitting on top of the water?
Waiting to get rescued and just dying because you ran out of oxygen because you can't open the fucking thing?
I still bet it turned into the Donner Party. You're taking up too much oxygen, Bob. Just start killing people in there. Oh, man.
And the one guy that's left's like, I don't know what happened. They all just fell asleep. It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. That guy tried to kill that guy, so I saved him.
Yeah. And just ended up being me, though, somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. So I got all the oxygen. But yeah, I don't. Imploding would suck.
I mean,
6,000 pounds per square inch.
it would be quick though.
If you puncture an air tank, they said water will go in before air will come out. 6,000 psi. A tire holds like 40 on your car.
Yeah. Even thinking about that before you even go down there, I'm like, I think I'm good. I don't need to.
Well, and didn't they already know there was problems with it?
Yeah. They were saying before that the hole was only 7 inches thick, and they were saying it needed to be, or 5 inches thick, it needed to be 7 inches thick, or something like that. But if you think you're going to build something like that, and I'm like, the hole needs to be 7 inches thick, well, let's make it 14 inches thick just to be on the safe side. And there was carbon fiber, and a lot of the experts were saying it was going to delaminate over time, which means that water could get in between the layers.
Good.
And
That's cool.
That's probably what they think happened.
They should have talked to the guy that built the Killdozer.
That guy. Talk about overbuilding something.
Yeah, and he drove around town for quite a while going crazy.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit more math that goes into the submarine, though, than building an armored dozer that he can mow stuff down with.
He lasted longer than they did.
That's true. That's true.
It sucks, but yeah, that's that's our current event strategy for the day.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of it's just like, silly government stuff that.
I think the funny part is that the Navy knew it happened. They're like, we heard that happen right after it happened, but we didn't say anything about it. We just like, hey, it's like you stole something from somebody and you help them look for it.
Yeah.
And, hey, we don't. Yeah, check over here in this area here. I don't
but
know.
all those guys in the Coast Guard are like, bro, we haven't got to get one of these underwater things out in a while.
Yeah, they're having all these resources coming to the area to try to everybody's just wasting their time.
Yeah, all the
there.
National Guard guys get activated to fill sandbags when it floods, but the Coast Guard's out there just like deep sea diving.
This is awesome.
God, last time I went out, I just pulled a body out of the Missouri. Now I actually got to go fucking look for something. Oh, man. There's always an interesting question that's gone around before, and a few of us talked about it. The old dead or alive, anyone you could have lunch with or dinner. Dead or alive?
We talked about this before we got on air, and I said I would like to have lunch with Ronald Reagan. I've always been a Ronald Reagan fan.
Like his acting?
Yes, definitely the acting. No, as I liked him as a president. At the 4th of July, I watched some of his videos he's really good at speeches and
The gift of the gab.
Yes. So that's one. There's obviously so many that it's hard to even pin it down to a couple. What's yours?
I have always thought that George Washington would be super interesting to have lunch with. I mean, that guy was like, it was either treason or win. And he had some rough rounds.
We definitely put it all on the line.
Well, yeah, and we're talking about, they have that picture, and I have a couple things when he's crossing the Delaware. They did that like in the middle of the night, in the fog, on Christmas Eve. Talk about just being a British soldier, like, oh, it's Christmas. Oh, yep, there they are. Like, they fucking crossed in the middle of the night and just started fucking killing people. All for, like, the dream of a free country.
Yeah.
And breaking away from them. Like, there's really no way the colonists should have won. You know what I mean? Overall, like, if the French hadn't shown up when they did, we probably wouldn't have won.
Yeah, I think obviously the colonists, tried to fight the war the way the British fought the war at the beginning, and then that wasn't working.
Yeah, guerrilla warfare.
So then they're like, all right, we're just going to go, and then the British
We're going to start hiding in the fucking bushes.
The British are like, no, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
Well, you guys aren't fighting fair.
Yeah, you guys aren't walking straight toward us and
Yeah.
just trying to fucking murder everybody.
Yeah, that's not how we're going to do this. It's very interesting to read about how the battles were won and how the war changed and all that stuff. It's a pretty interesting time, obviously.
Well, I mean, the things he went through, like, people freezing to death in the winter. Then he wins the war, goes home, You know, he married into some money. And he goes home to Martha at Mount Vernon. And then he's like, sweet, I'm done with this shit. Like, you know what? We'd like you to be president. And he's like, I have no desire to be president. And they finally talk him into it. And then he goes and serves as the president. And, I mean, not only did he have to win the war, then he has to establish a country, like in a set of rules. When he basically told everybody, hey, like, you're free. Like, it's a free country. And then you're like, but
We got to make a couple of rules.
we got to make a couple of rules.
We got to make a few here to kind of keep things rolling.
And then he served, did he do 2 terms?
I believe so.
And then he goes home to Mount Vernon, finally retires, and then he fucking dies, like shortly after, from like an infection that if they had antibiotics of today's standard, he probably would have healed within like a week. But they were using leeches to try to heal him.
Didn't I read somewhere that the old cherry tree thing was not really a real?
Oh, where he chopped down his dad's cherry tree?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I thought I read that somewhere.
I don't remember what that was the reference to.
Never telling a lie.
I thought that was Abraham Lincoln was on his tape, like never tell a lie.
I thought the cherry tree thing was the.
Yeah, but I thought maybe.
So George Washington took office in 1788 to 1789, in which he was elected unanimously, and then he was reelected again in 1792.
Oh, and then when did he die?
He chose to retire after 2 terms because I think that was
Yeah, there wasn't a term limit then.
And let's see.
I think he died like shortly after that.
He died in 1799. So 2 years after, yeah.
Yeah, of like an infection.
He died from epiglottitis,
That doesn't even sound like a real thing.
throat infection.
Oh, probably them teeth. You know, his teeth weren't really wooden; they were made of like other people's teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That was always the thing, wooden teeth. And then let's look up the cherry tree thing.
but yeah, I think he would have been a super interesting guy to learn from, somebody who put it all on the line, win against a monarchy. I think. Well, think about it, you had to rally the people to work with you, and hope that they were actually going to follow through on what they said they would do. Like, hey, I'm going to tell England to get fucked, and then we're going to fight everybody. And it was like, yeah, totally. And then when it comes down to like, I got like shit going on.
Yeah, I got I don't really want to lose everything if we lose.
I already paid my taxes to England for the year. Like, I feel like they're really taking care of me. Like,
Well, that's how some people were.
well, yeah, they said
Obviously.
was that only 3% of the colonists actually fought in the war.
Yeah. And some people were like, yeah, this isn't a good idea. We're going to stay out of this. But those
I
guys. And then we're coming, this is a good topic because we're coming up on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Here pretty soon. And it's a.
Yeah, and I think that people like that you remember because they've left like obviously historically, but not and not everybody has to be. It could be, I wouldn't mind having lunch with my grandma again playing cards.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind having lunch with my grandfather.
It's like it's people who leave that. We've made some shirts that talk about like your legacy, like what's your legacy going to be, and I think legacy is it's a very interesting, like 6-letter word. I think people look at it in very, very like different ways. And I think a lot of people think that, well, the legacy, that's like rich people, that like are super rich and they have like, every rich person all of a sudden turns into like some kind of philanthropist and they're like, oh, I'm going to build libraries and, and all this
Give
other.
everybody books.
And do all this other stuff, but it's not just about rich people. I mean, like, what's your legacy going to be? On a daily basis.
What are you going to be remembered for?
Yeah, and it's not always about it's not always about like wait till you die to know what you're remembered for. Like, I don't give a shit what people think about me when I die. I mean, how am I gonna know? Fucking dead.
Don't have anything else to worry about. Be
Yeah.
worrying about anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Have a legacy while you're alive.
Yeah, and I'm not saying people aren't, people don't fuck up and people aren't shitty people sometimes, but like learning from those things and like trying not to be shitty people. And whether it's you're just building a legacy, like what your kids remember you as, or your friends, or your family. Like nobody wants to be like, oh, that guy fucking, dude, I bailed that guy out of jail like every other fucking day. Like real piece of shit. Like no one cared when he died. Like,
Well, eventually, if you live that way, there isn't going to be anybody there to bail you out of jail because everyone's going to get tired of it. So,
well, yeah, like that's yeah. I mean, that's like talking about people that are homeless, like that are actually homeless. Like, do you know how many bridges you have to burn to become homeless? Like actual homeless, if you're just a regular person.
yes, and those people that are homeless, they don't want any help. They like being homeless.
And I'm not talking to people who have like some mental issues in their home. Like, I'm not talking about those people. Like some of those people, like where you just end up homeless. Like, you don't have a single friend or family member that'll let you couch surf and like, you know, take you to Gordman's to get you some clothes for a job interview. You know what I mean? Like, you've pissed off a lot of people, or been a shitty person to a lot of people. But that's where I think like what your legacy is, I think, can mean a lot to a lot of different people.
Yeah, I guess I've never really thought about it in that way. And you're right, legacy does seem like it's
Like this
Well,
big,
like
powerful word.
a rich person / political figure.
Yeah, like having your names on buildings,
Yeah.
you know, and like, but it doesn't have to be.
No, that's true.
Trying to think about what yours is right now.
Yeah, and so I'm like, I don't know.
No,
I'm just a
I'm-
cranky dude, you know.
But now I feel like, I mean, obviously, if you're most wealthy people you're looking at, like we're talking about, like if you look at like the Rockefellers and stuff like that, like obviously they were big business and very wealthy, and obviously it is easier to leave.
Do you think people that are younger than us know who the Rockefellers are? I think they've kind of.
Well, they
that
know.
name's kind of.
Well, they know what Rockefeller Center is.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that doesn't. But
No,
I
but
think you know what I'm saying. Like that name's kind of fallen off with like younger generations don't.
Well, and I
it's
think
not
some
as
of that's
popular
the.
anymore.
I think some of the legacy stuff, like obviously, okay, like the Rockefellers, like I don't even know why I can't. Like, there's so many people who have come through when, especially back in the day, big money, like the Vanderbilts was another one. I mean, even look at like George Washington, like what he did. You know, that guy's name was going to be remembered forever. But I think as a business, it's easier to, not necessarily. Well, it is easier to have a legacy. It depends on what the legacy is, whether you're known as a shitty business or a good business. You know,
And
it's
if your name's tied to it, like
yeah. You know, like even the gym.
obviously.
You know, even the gym, which, you know, this is obviously always sponsored by Omaha Barbell, the real Midwest mecca of strength. But even like with the gym, you know, there's going to be some kind of legacy to this gym, whether people think of it good or bad.
Yeah.
And I can't, even as an owner, you can't always control what people are going to think about your business. Because maybe you're not their cup of tea.
It's all about being a good person and trying to, you know, everyone's going to have their own opinions about how you are, things are. Not everyone's going to like you. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I'm sure George Washington probably had people that didn't like him too.
A lot of British people.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe some colonists too that didn't want.
Yeah, like what do you think
that
the
way
ones
of
who
life.
didn't want to be free did?
That's a good question. I mean, nobody really talks about that.
Did they just all get on a ship and be like, well,
Go back to Britain. You go back to England. Like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, we're gonna leave with these guys. I
America
guess.
sucks. They're all fucking poor over there.
Yeah, we're out of here. I don't want to not be free. I want to be like. I want things the way they were before. I want someone to take care of me,
Yeah.
tell me how I'm supposed to live. You know.
No change.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's you can have a big control of that, but don't look at it as such of like it's such a big word for only businesses and rich people. Because you can do anything. I mean, it's never too late. You can start your legacy at any point in time. Like, just because you're doing whatever for a job now doesn't mean you can't take that to the next level and be something different. And now, not everyone is a business owner or should be a business owner. Because, I mean, it's not, everybody thinks it's like the greatest thing since sliced bread to own a business. And, I mean, it's not always great.
I've always thought it's been a good trait, you know, to be hardworking, and it seems like that's kind of going away these days. How people aren't as hard, and I feel that I'm a hardworking person. Like, I can set goals and achieve the goals that I set, and it seems like that's kind of something that's falling away.
Well, I mean, that's even like with training.
Yeah.
Are people really willing to put in the work to do, to do what it takes to get where they want to go?
I think society's just getting more and more entitled. Everyone just wants to, have somebody else do it for them and get the results that they want out of someone else doing the work for them. And that's because, once again, everyone feels like they need to be taken care of,
Well, when we were talking about like the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts and those guys, and actually talk about people not working, they show that more and more generational wealth is disappearing because people aren't replenishing the generational wealth. Like obviously the Rockefellers still have a lot of money, but I mean, like if they took like the money they had back in the day, if they like with inflation, if they did it now, I mean, it's like money like no one's ever seen. But the family isn't near as wealthy because no one is doing anything to replenish that money. And I think it's a generation of people who don't really, have probably been given everything or don't want to work. You know what I mean?
Saying, go weak men bring hard times.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you just have a bunch of offspring or however you want to say it, kids or whatever, that aren't willing to do what you did and they're just lazy and spend all the money, then eventually all that money's going to be gone, right? Everybody all those rich families and people that are super successful have the one. Got to listen to some motivational speeches. Sometimes this guy talks about he is the one. He's a billionaire or something like that, and he's saying that he was the one for his family. Like if you look at his family tree, they're all just a bunch of hardworking people. Just went to regular 9-to-5 jobs, made money, took care of their families. But he's like, I'm the one that made my family have generational wealth, and hopefully, he goes, maybe you can be the one that comes along and makes your family be the one that has generational wealth, so then it can go on. It takes a lot of courage to do something like that. Like a lot of people are afraid to step outside their comfort zone and be the one. You know what I mean?
Well, and I don't have kids, but I'm also not an idiot. You have kids, but I think if you're wealthy and you don't make your kids work or do anything, you're not helping your generational wealth cause. I'm sure I get it. You want to like give your kids a better life, but also show them how we got to where you're at. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Hey, this summer you're out of school. Sweet. You're going to come to work with me every day at 5 a.m. Well, I don't want to. Well, I don't really give a fuck. Do you want your allowance? You know what I mean? Do you want to earn some money? And I think a lot of that's just lost. And I think that's why these people have such like crazy like legacies that live for so long because of what they did. Like why people still, like I said, people probably don't necessarily know about the Rockefellers, but you see their buildings.
Yeah.
And you're
some people probably just think it's a name of a building. Some people don't probably really know who they were.
Well, and
who they are.
Even fast forward to somebody would be like, look at like a Jay-Z. You know what I mean? Or like an Eminem. Like those guys had to make it, to provide the wealth for the family. Any celebrity, you know what I mean? They all had to go through something to make money. Now, not all wealthy people are celebrities.
Yeah. But those celebrities and athletes and all that, they're not the ones. They're getting rich off their talents, right? And but they're getting rich. I wouldn't say the people that are paying them are the ones that are getting wealthy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You look at people like who got it, like actually having dinner with someone. Shaq would be an interesting guy to talk to.
Yes, because Shaq. Well, same with Michael Jordan because those guys obviously had a lot of talent, but they also like Michael Jordan. Didn't he just sell like the Hornets for like
$3 billion.
$3 billion.
And he paid like $150 million for him or something like that.
I mean, that's the kind of and then
which I don't understand because they're still not good. Like they even talked about like the team's still not fucking good, but they're like they just want to own it because Michael Jordan owned it.
Yeah, and then so he's obviously built a big name just off. I mean, he was arguably the greatest basketball player ever, but he didn't just he didn't. No, yeah, I agree with you. He didn't just do that and play ball. Take his check, but he actually turned it into something. He has a brand.
Yeah, he's got, and I mean, like Shaq. Shaq owns multiple businesses.
Yes.
But Shaq is somebody who gives his kids everything, but he also makes his kids go to school and try to be better. He had a reality show. I don't know if it's still on anymore. But what did he say? You need 2 degrees if you want my cheese. Like his kids basically had to get a master's degree or better if they wanted any of his money.
I was watching something with him, and he was talking about how when he first was playing basketball, and he would go meet people that wanted him to do advertising or whatever it was. He said they would say, "Oh, hi, Shaq," and then they would talk to whoever he had with him.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and he says that used to make me upset. Like, oh, they don't think I'm really in charge. He's like, so I want to go get a master's degree. And he said he did it. University of Phoenix was all online, but then he goes, well, I don't want to take online courses. I want someone to come teach me. And they said, well, we don't do just single person classes like that. There needs to be 15 people. And he goes, so I paid for 15 of my friends and family to get master's degrees.
Yeah, because I think didn't they teach him he took a business class, wasn't it, or business masters?
I believe it was something like that.
So when they were talking about like profit and loss sheets and all that stuff, like he could jump in and basically hear. And then I think he said after that he would go in a meeting and be like, no, you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Like I run the show. But yeah, that guy has turned. And you got to think when he played, they didn't make the money they do now. Like Shaq made a lot of money, but not like the money that they get paid now.
Yeah. And he's also real nice to kids when he sees them. He's always buying kids stuff. And
well, he took his shoes from Reebok and went to Walmart so more people could afford them.
Yeah.
Some lady came and was like, no one can afford your shoes. And he was like, that really bothered him. So he took him and put him in Walmart and made him more affordable.
Mm-hmm.
But
that hurt it for me, though, because, I couldn't be seeing some Walmart tennis shoes when I was in high school. So I'm like, oh, Shaqs are out now. I remember when I was a kid, and then we'd go to Foot Locker, and they had one of his shoes in there on display. We wore a size 24 or whatever.
20 triple E.
Yeah, I'm like, look at the size of this shoe. This is ridiculous.
I have a pair of the pumps when they relaunched them, and I don't understand how they played basketball in those shoes.
I had a pair of pumps too, the Reebok pumps.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, and they were really stiff and a shitty shoe, really.
Yeah,
I don't have any of the new ones, but I
have a pair of
remember
the Blue Shack Attacks, like the originals, but when they remade them, and they're super foamy and thick. I don't understand how they did anything athletic. I have a pair of Dion's also, and I don't understand how we played football in those.
Oh, you had to, because they were Dion's.
Well, yeah.
Do you remember when the Payless would do knockoff Dion, like the knockoff Dion's, and they'd sell them?
I didn't have a Payless. I just had a Pomida.
Mm. Well, there's a Payless here.
Yeah.
When I went to high school, if you did, people would show up with those knockoff Dion's, and man, you want to talk about getting made fun of.
Dude, I got made fun of. I have a pair of blue LA Gears back in the day. Remember LA Gear?
Yeah.
And got just roasted for
They
wearing.
made pumps too.
I got roasted for wearing a pair of blue shoes.
I had a pair of LA Gear pumps, and they were way more comfortable than my Reebok.
Did you have
pumps.
LA Lights also, the ones that would light up on the bottom?
I did not have those. No.
Yeah, I was like, I got made fun of all the time, and now people wear fucking different colored shoes all the time.
Yeah, when I was...
If I still had those LA Gears, probably worth some money now.
It was all about the starter jackets when I was in junior high and high school.
You're talking about the satin ones, the ones with the big pocket up front?
No, starter.
Just the brand.
Yeah, starter brand jacket, but it was usually football teams or whatever.
Yeah, it didn't have the big, the quarter zip with the big pocket in the front. That was a starter.
That was the pullovers. I didn't like the pullovers, though.
I
pullover.
had a Chicago Bulls satin jacket, like a team jacket, And then when you'd wash it, half the stuff would come off of it.
Well, Shopko sold the Logo 7s, and they were knockoff starter jackets.
Oh, what's a Logo 7?
Yeah, exactly. So you'd get made fun of if you wore a Logo 7 jacket to school.
So
I got the Logo 7. Looks nice.
So you made fun of him, didn't you?
No.
That's
I was a gentleman.
That's a lie. Did you have a Logo 7 jacket?
No.
Why not?
So I'm trying to build my legacy, Brett.
What kind of legacy are you
I'm trying to, I'm not going out like that. No.
What kind of legacy live for these poor kids?
I had a Husker starter jacket. I think I had a 49ers pullover jacket.
Joe Montana style?
Oh, yeah. I love me some 49ers when Joe Montana played there, and then the 49ers basically shit all over Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, so they're dead to me now. So
Steve Young was good though.
yeah, but the way they treat those guys, man, the 49ers have a horrible leg. That business model, the business of them running their teams. I get it when guys are old, it's time to go. But Joe Montana, I mean, come on, man, you can't let those guys retire there. You know what I mean?
Well, he went to the Chiefs, and it was just the worst thing ever.
But didn't he go to the AFC Championship that year?
Yeah, but it's the Chiefs.
Because I remember John Elway talking about it. He's like, man, finally, Joe Montana's gone. This is going to be awesome. And he's like, shit, he's playing for the Chiefs, and he beat me again. And then, yeah, that's, Joe Montana.
Joe Montana and Marcus Allen. Wasn't that the running back from the Chiefs when he was there?
Yeah, well.
I think so, 'cause
Yeah.
he played for the Raiders, and Al Davis would never play him.
I don't know why. I don't know. But
Why did Al Davis do a lot of the things he did? That's why the Raiders have continually sucked.
speaking of the Raiders, how many people remember Bo Jackson?
Yeah, Bo Jackson.
Man, Bo was the man when
You know that guy
when
never
we were kids.
You know that guy didn't lift weights.
That's the same. I heard Herschel Walker didn't lift weights either.
Bo
He just
Jackson-
did push-ups and
They had him on a video, and he's got a gym full of brand new equipment in his house, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't ever work out. I don't even know why I have this."
if you don't know who Bo Jackson is, Bo Jackson used to play baseball and football, but he was a super athlete. He was a running back, and I think he was like an outfielder. But he could,
When he ran up the wall,
yeah, and he could frozen rope a baseball from like left field
that
to
dude
first
had
base.
so much power that a guy grabbed his leg, and he pulled so hard he ripped his hip out of socket, and that was basically the end of his career for the most part.
Do you remember when Brian Bosworth played
Yes.
for Seattle?
And he ran him over.
And there was they were like talking it up like the big, like, because Brian Bosworth was the linebacker, and then
Mhm.
Bo Jackson was a running back, and then Bo Jackson just demolished him at the goal line, and I think he took him out of his shoes, even if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
And,
because they made
yeah.
that Kia. Wasn't there a Kia commercial just recently with him and Bosworth?
Was there?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't see that.
There's also that play with Bo Jackson where he runs and he's running so fast he can't stop, so he basically runs down the tunnel and into the locker room and has to come back
Yes.
when he ran to the back of the end zone.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't know. Well, this kind of goes to other stuff too where we've talked about, we'll give credit where credit's due. People need to understand the history of things to know where things come from. Yeah, like yesterday I was down at an old friend's gym down in Salina, Kansas, or Abilene, Kansas. And we used to go down there and do the all-around meets, which was all the old school lifting. Before there was squat racks, we did the Steinborn squat. This is all before it got trendy in the last few years, like the Jefferson lift. I did that shit 15, probably 18 years ago, and it sucked then. But it was, we went down there, went down and got some equipment from him, and we were talking, and he used to have 15, 20 people to come train at his place. He's got this sweet gym. It's all homemade. He overbuilds everything. And he said now there's maybe 3 or 4 people that come around and train, maybe 5. But just to go there, I took Matt and Derek with me, and they were both just this is the coolest place ever. I mean, he's got a whole setup. His whole backyard used to be a Highland Games field. And then he has these torpedo farmer walks. I can't remember what they weighed. I'll have to ask Matt. But their challenge was...
Did Matt talk about it in the chat?
I think he might have said how much they were.
Yeah.
But the challenge was you had to walk with them to a tree and back on Al's property, and it was kind of downhill, uphill, and it's 200 yards there and 200 yards back. And Matt did it.
It says 200-pound farmer carry 400 yards.
Yeah, they're little torpedoes. They're
So
pretty
it's 100
sweet.
pounds apiece?
I think so. Yeah, and he had to walk 200 yards to the tree and 200 yards back. And Al was one of those guys, they would see something cool, and he'd just build it. They're like, hey, how do we get better at this? He would just make it. And there's not people like that. I mean, it's just the work of it, you know what I mean? How many guys do you see that are welding stuff like that anymore? That are building equipment like that just on a farm, you know what I mean? And
Oh, there's probably some dudes doing it, but you don't hear about them.
especially in strength sports, I wish people would. There's so many cool older guys that did a lot of cool stuff that none of these people know about. Here's the thing: is you get into basketball, about a lot of the older guys. If you're playing in the NBA, you know who these older guys are, or you're in college, or whatever. because of the legacy they leave on that sport. I feel like in strength sports, like a lot of people don't care because, and I mean in a lot of sports that way too. But it's the what have you done for me lately? Like what have you done for the sport lately? Like, I mean Ed comes out here every year for the meet, and I don't understand how people are just like, or we've had about it for seminars, and how people are just like lined up to do seminars with him. For what that guy did, especially in the time he did it, you know, like equipment's kind of equipment, but but it's gotten better, and the availability of things is so much better now. Partially because of CrossFit. CrossFit opened the door for a lot of equipment to be more readily available. But giving credit where credit's due. I know a lifter. She's like a pretty predominant lifter. She went out to Chicago, and Ed helped her with her deadlift. Her deadlift shoots up, doesn't say one thing to thank Ed. Doesn't give him any credit. And I think these guys have these legacies. It's part of like why I like having the Ed Coan meet is to keep Ed's legacy going because it should be.
I think lifting's more trendy than other sports because people see like whoever's trending right now on social media who does these lifts or things like that. And it's more of a trendy type thing. And then like I think we talked about this before. I mean, there's lots of power lifters that were great that were super huge years ago. And then you're like, nobody knows who that guy is anymore.
Yeah, they're in and out quick.
Yeah, like Dan Green, like he was a beast at what probably a lot of people don't know who Dan Green is, right? Same with I can't think of anybody off the top of my head right now, but there's a lot of guys that were really good power lifters.
I mean, dude, even talk about look at Louis Simmons.
Yeah,
how many people don't really know who Louis is or care, and what he did for powerlifting? And that's where I've kind of got to the point. Like I've seen a lot of great lifts. As far as numbers, it's not even the lifts that always impress me that much anymore. It's how long somebody can stay in the sport or wants to stay in the sport and keep that, again, back to that legacy word, keep the legacy of powerlifting alive. Like you love the sport so much, like why are you such a selfish asshole? You know what I mean? Nobody wants to help anybody out. Or if they do, they got to charge everybody for everything.
Yeah, I don't know where that, I mean, that's,
I don't know where
I don't know where that came from.
Everybody's a coach. They've done one meet. You see it now. You've done like one bodybuilding show. All of a sudden, you're like a fucking coach because you've done it one time. Nobody has any like staying in the game. How long can you stay in the game and compete? Not
very long.
It turns
a lot
into
of people can't do it for very long.
It turns into back in my day, why are you still doing anything? It wasn't that long ago. It was right before Ed got his hip replaced. But he still pulled like 6-something. They're like fucking 50 years old.
How old is Ed now?
I don't know, like 150?
Yeah, probably something like that. 148.
Yeah. But, he still... If Ed's hips weren't replaced and he didn't have shoulder problems, I bet Ed would still train heavy. Not as heavy, but he would still train heavy. But Ed also lasted like 20 fucking plus years in the sport. There's not a lot of people that are doing that in strength sports.
Like I said, it's like a trendy thing.
And I
Ed doesn't have a big, YouTube channel or a big Instagram account, that people are, and he's probably not posting reels, and out there. And, that's what everybody's all about nowadays. If you don't have...
Society's based on social media and trends, and that's where I think no one gives credit where credit's due, like you said, because it's what have you done for me lately?
Well, right now, I believe that fitness in general is on an upward trend, but in a couple of years it'll dip down like it always does, and it'll go back to the shadows, and everyone will move on.
Well, especially like powerlifting,
I
feel like you've seen like CrossFit kind of trail off.
Yeah, oh for sure, big time CrossFit.
Yeah, especially the number of like competitive gyms you see, and I don't know if that's. And I get strength sports are hard on you, and people push it to the limits, but also. You see people are really good in strength sports, and then they get out, and then they don't do anything to help out future people. You talk about how much you love the sport, and you love seeing the sport grow. Just because you can't lift doesn't mean you can't help other people.
I also think a big part of CrossFit, too, is that it turned into like a big money grab thing. When people would tell me how much they pay to go to CrossFit monthly, I'm like, are you kidding me? What is it? That's ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's... And they have so many people in there. It's like, why do you guys have to charge so much? That's an outrageous amount of money. I mean,
I think like minimum is like 120 to 150 bucks is like a minimum.
yeah, and there's 30 people in there training at the same time, and they're all doing. And that's a lot of money. I think that no one's gonna stick with. No one's gonna. Let's be honest. $150 a month to go work out. No one's probably gonna do that for 10 years.
I mean, you're gonna have the few. You're always gonna have outliers and everything.
But it's not gonna be. But now, if you knock that down to $80 or $70, that might be something that someone would stick with for a long time. And I just think that it turns into like this greedy thing when somebody finds something that everybody's into, they get it trending, and then they turn this into this big money grab instead of thinking about the longevity of it down the road. Like, hey, if we make this affordable for everybody, it's going to be around forever.
But it's a whole instant gratification thing. They'd rather take. It's like we talked about with the shitty customer service last week. They want all the money now. They're not looking down the road. Like, I get you want to price certain things to keep shitty fucking people out. Like, I've always said I don't want $10 a month people here.
Yeah, but I think there's a big difference between $10 a month people than $150 a month people and $70 a month people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like I think sometimes the things people charge, prices people charge to keep certain people out. You know what I mean? Because they're putting their time and effort into having an environment that they don't want somebody that's just going to come in and fuck off.
Yeah. Well, that's like recently I was trying to go to a pool in the area here, and then they have a really fancy pool downtown. It's like $3,000 to join the pool, and then you pay I can't remember how much it was a month. $3,000 initiation fee, then $150 a month just to be a part of a pool.
To be a part of an adult urinal.
And yeah, and you can only 5 months out of the year you can go.
I'm sure they have a swim up bar.
I don't know. It's a good. I didn't even really look into it. Once I found out how much it was, I was like, nah.
But those pools like that always concern me because I've been to one around here too where I never saw people get out of the water and they kept drinking.
That is kind of interesting, isn't it?
That is
the chlorine level's got to be on another level in there.
That is a human urinal.
Yeah, everybody's just in there basking in it.
Like I went golfing last weekend and we paid like almost $100, and I was like, that was not double the price of other courses. Good. Now I'm not like a great golfer by any means. And maybe because it would be harder if I was good or bad. But I don't know. I didn't think it was double the price of another course that I've been to in town.
You think the course was nicer, as well taken care of?
No, and their fucking carts were terrible. Their GPS, like I was driving, just shut off and told me how to back up and get out of where I was. I wasn't even like close to anything. I'm not going to put their name out there because I'm not trying to shit on them like that. But I would never probably golf there again unless like somebody really wanted to go. I mean, I've told a few people what I thought of it, but I'm not going to like put it out there to the dozens of people listening.
If you really want to know, you have to contact Brett in the DM.
Yeah. But
DM me, I'll let you know.
Yeah. But overall, I think people should kind of sit back and look at what they think their legacy is. And stop getting rid of the what have you done for me lately. Look at some of these other people's legacies. Go back in these legacies and see what they are.
Like, let's say you're good at something, right? Do you think you should be charging people for your talents that you have? Just say you're a regular person who works out, lifts, whatever. Let's say you're good at shooting handguns. Let's say you're good at shooting rifles. Let's say you're good at working, whatever you're good at. Do you think it would be better for you to just help some people out and kind of give them some tips? Or do you think that you're good enough to be really charging people for whatever thing that you're good at in this area? Now, you're not world class. You're just good.
And obviously, money makes the world go around.
Yes.
I understand that too.
But if I'm saying if it becomes like a thing to where there's lots of people coming to you, like you're whatever you're showing these people is really good. There's lots of people coming to you. Then you start making a little bit of money off of it. But people that you see every day that are acquaintances or friends of yours, I mean, just help some people out every once in a while. You're not going to charge everybody for everything,
No, and you don't need to I just started doing this, so I'm going to charge this amount of money. No, because you're not. And I hate it when this so and so charges this. Yeah, that dude's also. And here's the thing is, just because you're not let's say in lifting, just because you're not a world-class lifter doesn't mean, or that person, say you're somebody that offers coaching, just because they're not a world-class lifter doesn't mean that like they haven't put the time in and they don't understand lifting. You know, we had an offensive coordinator when I was in high school that never played a down of football, but that guy understood the fucking game like no one I'd ever seen before. Now you get into some more hands-on stuff like, you know, martial arts or shooting and whatever, blah, blah. That's a little bit different. But with some of that stuff, you know, if you're going to charge for something, you know, charge a fair rate. And then if you get so busy, you can raise your prices to start to weed people out. You know, if you can raise it $2 and you lose one person, okay. You know what I mean? Like, but you'll figure that out. The market will dictate where you're going to go.
But if you're just a good lifter in the gym and someone's like, hey, man, you know, and you're like, I just, if you want any tips from me, you got to sign up for my coaching. Like,
Yeah, dude. Just, and you know what? Or if you're just like a former lifter or former of anything, you know, there's a place you can go, like at the gym. You know, you come to work out, still go work out there and still help people. That gym helped you, help them.
I'm not saying I'm like a world-class lifter or anything like
You're
that.
not.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
no, we know.
I'm not saying I'm like the greatest or what, but I know a good lift when I see one, and I know I can look at people, and I've been lifting long enough, I can look at people lifting and see that I'm not a professional at it. I can't, you know, but I can tell you when you're really sucking and give you a few tips with that. And I've helped lots of people out with that before, but I'm not going to, you know, because everybody's different. Everybody's got different body types, how they lift, and where you need to stand. And that's why I've always hated people watching videos on how to lift, and they're like, "Oh, well, this guy lifts like that." Well, you're not him, and
That's the problem with all of it. It's just turned into, like we talked about, Instagram. That goes to who's popular now. I'm going to lift like that guy. Like I said, in our very first episode, we talked about the common denominator of things. Look at what a lot of people have done, not just the minority of what people have done. You know. There's always going to be those freaks.
Always be that way when I would go to commercial gyms. I mean, there's a lot of machines here at Barbell now, but originally there wasn't as much as there is now. And then everybody's like, oh, you know, I like my machines. I was like, well, you know, free weights have been around for ever.
A million years.
Guess what? They're going to be around for another million years. So that's all I really care about. I mean, once you get older, obviously the machines are nice, but free weights is where it's at. That's what I've always said.
Was that Henry Rollins said the iron never lies?
That's true.
You know, it's
200 pounds is always 200 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes the weights say 45 on them, they only weigh 44.
Or they weigh 47.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're really into something, you know, do some research on things. And maybe some of these people that have done stuff in the past, you can reach out to. You know, maybe they do something similar to you. Maybe they lift similar to you. Or you have a similar body type. Reach out to them and say, hey, man, when I squat, this happens. I know you squatted the same way. Did you ever have this problem?
Mm.
They might get back to you. You know what I mean? And that'd be cool. You know what I mean? I know Ed, you can send Ed, DM him videos and he'll look at them for you. I know Dave Tate, I believe, will do the same thing.
I think you have to be a good student too, though. Don't
be like, no, that's not it. I'm a fucking unicorn. None of this is ever it's never the same. And you know what? Dave Tate's another prime example. Dave lifted multiply. He was strong, but he was never like the greatest in the world.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to shit on Dave. I mean, I don't think he was ever he never hit the 1,000-pound squat. You know what I mean? Like, which that was the big thing at Westside at that time. But Dave was still a great lifter. Like I said, but Dave understands things. Like, you know, he used to do the seminars for Louis because he could understand what Louis was talking about. You know, not everybody could do that. So just because someone's not world class at something doesn't mean they can't tell you how it's supposed to happen.
And back to the good student. I used to watch, I can't remember who it was. I used to watch somebody that used to do shooting videos all the time, and he trained people, and he would say, what's really funny to me is how people will pay to come to one of my classes, and then I'll critique their shooting, and they'll tell me, oh, no, I'm good. This is how I shoot. So they just paid me $200 to tell me that they know that to basically tell me how they shoot. And that guy would also take classes because everyone needs to learn new things. And he would say, I shoot a certain way, but while I'm here as a student, I will do it how the instructor wants me to do it. And then I will take that with me when I leave here. And then I will decide through my own training and experience if I want to move on to how they're teaching it or go back to the way that I do it myself. That's a great way to look at it. Everyone's got an ego. People want to be like, oh man, I already know how. You got to try to think outside the box, try to do some new things, and maybe you'll find something.
Maybe that
better.
guy teaches you 100 things and you'll use one of them.
Yeah, at least you got one thing out of it.
And it's like in research, people that teach certain things you're looking for. Like I've done like barbecue classes, and I've done them, and I thought I don't like to do it that way. I learned other things, but I'm like I don't really cook that way. I took a barbecue class, and they were like, we were doing brisket, and they were like fat side down, and they trim it this way, and I was like, I don't like it that way. Doesn't mean it's wrong. I still listened to what he had to say. I wasn't like, this guy's a fucking idiot.
Did you try one that way though?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, you tried it, right?
Yeah.
And
I wasn't sitting in this class, but like, well, just get up and fucking walk out.
This guy fucking sucks.
This place
Can I get
sucks.
my money back?
Yeah, fuck this. I'm out.
Yeah.
But this goes back to get rid of the instant gratification. Do some research on what you want to do, and then be honest. Okay, be honest with yourself first of all, because maybe what you're trying to do isn't for you. This also goes into the whole like participation trophy things. That's a whole different topic. But if people be honest about things, especially with kids when they're younger, like back in the day when like the Soviets were winning like everything in the Olympics, take the drugs out of it. I'm not talking about that. But they would have kids play every sport. And once they figured out what they were good at, they would groom them towards the other sports. It wasn't like, no, you're really good at this. No, you're fucking not.
You suck. You should play this.
But if people were honest, hey, your kid can't walk and fucking chew gum at the same time. He probably shouldn't play basketball. But hey, have you put him on a chessboard? And the kid could be like a world-class fucking chess player. But if you always lie to people and never tell them what they're going to be good at, they're never going to fucking try something different.
Well, going back to the instant gratification thing, if you train and work out, there's really not a lot of instant gratification in training.
Well, it is when you start, and that's
beginner gains.
Yes, this is where you see a lot of people drop off in lifting, because as soon as lifting gets hard, and it's not like every week you're fucking getting a PR, and you can text. I remember texting Amber and I get a PR, and she was like, "Ooh," you know what I mean? But like those days, I was talking to Al yesterday, my buddy down in Kansas. And we were talking about that, and he said, I remember when it took me 10 years to take my bench from 450 to 500. He goes, 5 pounds a year. And he goes, that's not even counting where, you might get hurt and lose 10 pounds on the bench and have to come back. But that's when it starts to get hard. No one wants to work at it. And that's what separates people that have a fucking legacy and don't. Because you fucking quit. You know what I mean? So figure out what you're good at if it's something you want to do. And if you're, maybe you're not great at it, but you can be good at it, because there's plenty of people who are naturally good at things and other people who are fucking determined to be good at things. But be honest with yourself. Decide what you want your legacy to be. And then create the legacy, keep building your legacy, and then leave a legacy of like being a fucking decent human also.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the legacy, if you're in the gym, and how would people perceive you at work, or let's say in the gym that you train at? Are they gonna be like, oh, that guy's a nice guy, He helped me out with this or helped me out with that. He's a good dude. You're probably a good person in your private life too, in your personal life, right? And then that's what people, if something ever were to happen to you, they'd always be like, oh man, that guy was always a nice guy. He was cool. I mean, do you want to be that guy, or do you want to be that dude that was in the gym and unapproachable and no one would talk to? Then when you ask you a question, you're like, oh yeah, if you want to. Here's my website if you want tips or you can Venmo me $20.
Yeah, and if you think someone's an asshole to you, maybe you put out an asshole vibe to them. You know what I mean? Like there's people here in the gym. I don't talk to everybody, and not just out of being like an asshole. I'll say hi to everybody. But if you're going to put out an asshole vibe to me, I'm probably not going to be super apt to talk to you. Like I remember when I used to call Westside, and I would call, the very first time I ever called to talk to Louis, he was very standoffish. Like he almost like, you got the vibe he didn't want to talk to you. But he wanted to make sure that you weren't wasting his fucking time. Because that guy probably had plenty of people call and ask him the dumbest questions ever.
Yeah.
But also, that's another person. If you are interested in strength sports, you need to read about these people and learn about these people. But take your time. Learn what you want your legacy to be. And leave a good legacy in life, like I said, whether it's like being a decent human in general or being exceptional in what you do and being successful.
This is a very deep topic today.
It is, but I think it's something that needs to be talked about. Because after I was down and saw Al yesterday, and just like all the cool stuff I remember doing down there, and how he used to train with the same people for like 10 years. And now people hardly actually train together. Like, I mean, on the same rack together, train together. Because they're all trying to be their own Instagram model or TikTok model or whatever the fucking newest thing is going to be. Snapchat. I see kids walking around the gym constantly taking pictures of themselves for Snapchat. Just text them. Or don't do anything. No one needs to see every one of your lifts. Stop recording all of them. It doesn't matter. Your warm-ups don't matter. No one gives a fuck.
Man, I really wish that dude would have recorded his warm-ups. I really wish I would have seen that on there.
No one cares. And if you're not going for a PR, no one cares either. Your coach has probably seen all of them. He might ask you for them, and that's fine if your coach asks you for your... He's probably only going to ask you for your top set, so stop fucking recording all of them.
Well, that's what the gym's turned into. It's been turned into like a big...
I don't need to see your accessories. I don't give a fuck that you did a row. Unless you're like, hey, you know what? I was doing rows and like my fucking back hurts. Okay, well, send me a video. But that's just in lifting.
Yeah.
But
This was a very deep topic. We started off with talking about the billionaire submarine catastrophe.
that was very deep also, actually. They got super deep to the bottom.
I don't think they got... Well, how do they even know how deep they got?
Well, no, the
before
debris made it, though, to the bottom. They're part of the Titanic now.
Is it near the Titanic?
I think so. I think it's near the wreckage.
So is that going to be in 10 years from now? They're going to be like, hey, there's that other submarine down. Here's the Titanic over here, and here's the Titan.
Do you think when they sent that unmanned vehicle down to find it, it was just playing that Celine Dion song from Titanic?
Didn't they? Wasn't this another thing that the Simpsons predicted too? I thought I saw something about that. How they were.
I don't know, but yeah, they predict a lot of shit, though.
Yeah.
I wonder what they predict about our podcast.
I don't know.
I bet they talk about it.
I mean, why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Pretty soon it'll be just like another large podcast out there. Just have a whole building
Just
around the podcast room.
Well, it's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah. But as in, there's no one else in it but us.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think we covered some legacy things, and I think people should think about what they want their legacy to be, and also who you could have lunch with and what you would ask them. It's a very interesting topic.
It definitely couldn't be a buffet though, because you know how you go to a buffet and you're like you don't really talk to anybody because everybody's getting up at a different time. It's like an awkward.
And you're staring at their food, wondering where they got it from.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh man, where'd they find that at? And then
where's this waitress at? I'm out of Diet Coke.
Then they come back and you're like, oh hey, watch my phone, I'll be back. And then you're gone.
Yeah, we can't get up at the same time. Yeah.
then you gotta have like a real lunch.
Yeah, don't turn the ticket over like we're fucking done. We're not done yet.
We're not leaving.
Are you guys done? No, I'm sitting. I'm waiting this out.
All day thing.
Well,
oh, hey, well, we're looking to change the menu. Yeah, that's what we're waiting for. That's why we got here at the end of lunch.
I've done that before. But we also got kicked out of a buffet in Vegas. But that was a New Year's deal.
What, serving lobster or something?
No, they had on New Year's, they had like a time limit on it. I don't fucking know. But we got kicked out.
Did you sign a contract when you got there? Hey, we
I
saw
don't remember
you.
us
We saw
telling
you
them.
guys. You saw you guys coming in here.
What we paid?
You guys
I
are
don't remember
winded
being a time limit.
you guys are winded at the window, so we're gonna need to tell you that you can only be here.
Yeah, I don't even remember when we paid. They told us that. What a fucking joke that was. But
that's when I went to Vegas the first time. They're like, "Oh, food's so cheap." Bullshit. You go to those buffets, they're like $80 a person or something. And it's like,
oh yeah, they don't give the buffet away at all. Now, if you go down to Fremont Street, the further down Fremont Street, the cheaper the food gets.
Yeah, but then you're gonna shit water afterwards too.
Hey man, they just said the food was cheap. They didn't say the health was cheap.
Yeah. Some 50-cent PBRs and some $2 steaks.
And we were doing it, and like the prime rib dinner just kept getting cheaper the further down the street. I'm like, did they just hand the old shit to the next place?
Yeah. Was that old Rodney Dangerfield thing? Look at this steak. It's still got marks on it from when the jockey was hitting it.
Oh, man. All right. Well, appreciate everybody listening. If you don't follow us or subscribe, please do so. Subscriptions are where it's at. We do have the audio on YouTube. We're still working on getting the video stuff. We got to get a little video area set up in here, but we are on YouTube also. Bullets, Barbells, and Barbecue on there. But we're on all major audios. Go check us out. We appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you next week.